This is ByteSized Future, where the future doesn't knock first, it just loads silently in the background. And today we're talking about the kind of AI that already knows how an eviction case might end before the landlord even files the paperwork. Because once you see how these tools work, you realize the courtroom isn't just a room anymore, it's a dataset. So let's start with Dicta, which basically operates like an algorithmic fortune teller for litigation. It feeds on historical court data, judge behavior, motion rulings, and jurisdictional patterns, then outputs probability scores that tell you how likely a case is to win, lose, or settle. People who love it say it turns vibes into math and removes emotional guessing from legal strategy. But critics say it can feel dystopian, like once the AI gives a low score, the human story barely matters anymore. The biggest thing to consider when using Dicta is that eviction cases involve people, not just probabilities, and treating the model as destiny instead of guidance is how bias gets quietly reinforced. That flows straight into Lex Machina, which is basically the heavyweight champion of legal analytics. It analyzes millions of cases to track how judges rule, how attorneys perform, and how specific arguments historically land, which means eviction-heavy courts become extremely predictable over time. The upside is accuracy that feels almost unfair, while the downside is access, because this tool is expensive and usually sits on the landlord or corporate side of the table. The factor that matters most here is power imbalance, because when one side has deep predictive insight and the other is just trying to survive, outcomes start feeling pre-written. Then there's Premonition AI, which treats the legal system like a leaderboard. It ranks judges, lawyers, and law firms based on win rates and historical performance, making eviction outcomes feel like a competitive sport rather than a human crisis. Fans love how brutally honest it is, but critics argue it rewards whoever already wins the most, which in housing law often isn't the tenant. When using Premonition, the key thing to think about is whether you're using data to prepare better arguments or just to exploit statistical advantage. Sliding right into Casetext, which works less like a predictor and more like a silent influencer. Its AI reads massive volumes of case law and surfaces precedent that subtly points users toward likely outcomes, including eviction rulings. Reviews praise how fast and intuitive it is, while complaints usually focus on the fact that it still depends on user skill. The main consideration here is interpretation, because Casetext doesn't decide for you, but it absolutely shapes what you think is normal or likely in court. That naturally connects to Ross intelligence, which lets users ask legal questions in plain language and get context-rich answers backed by precedent. It's not shouting predictions, but it quietly nudges users toward outcome expectations based on how similar cases played out. People like how accessible it feels, but others say its database depth doesn't always match legacy platforms. When using Ross for eviction-related research, the big factor is remembering it's a compass, not a crystal ball. Next up is Legal, one of the few tools that openly brands itself around outcome prediction. It uses machine learning trained on past decisions to forecast how a legal question might be resolved, which makes it especially interesting for rule-based eviction laws. Users love the transparency of its reasoning, while critics warn that sudden legal changes or emotionally charged cases can confuse the model. The most important factor here is jurisdiction, because thrives on consistency and struggles where courts behave unpredictably. That takes us into Westlaw Precision, which layers predictive-style analytics on top of traditional research. By showing how judges historically rule and how arguments perform, eviction outcomes start to feel statistically preloaded. Reviews praise its trustworthiness and depth, while downsides focus on cost and complexity. The real question to consider is intent, because data can be used to prepare responsibly or to pressure people into settlements before they even feel heard. From there, Vizlegal keeps things quieter, but still powerful by organizing and summarizing case law in a way that makes trends impossible to ignore. It doesn't scream AI prophecy, but eviction patterns become very obvious very fast. People like the clarity, critics want more advanced prediction features, and the key factor is pairing, because Vizlegal works best alongside tools that handle probability modeling. Then there's Everlaw, which focuses on the evidence layer rather than the verdict itself. Its AI surfaces key documents, timelines, and procedural details that can quietly decide eviction outcomes long before court. Users praise its clean interface and speed, while others mention the learning curve. The main thing to consider is that Everlaw sharpens the inputs, and sharper inputs mean more accurate predictions downstream. Finally, Relativity sits underneath a lot of modern legal AI systems as the infrastructure layer. It allows custom models to be built on eviction data at scale, which makes it insanely powerful and equally dangerous if misused. Power users love the flexibility. Critics say it's overkill without expertise, and the biggest factor is ethics, because once you can model outcomes at scale, the question stops being can we, and becomes should we. And that's where ByteSized Future leaves you, because eviction cases aren't just decided in court anymore. They're simulated, scored, and strategized long before anyone says all rise. And the real future question isn't whether AI predicts outcomes, it's who gets access to the prediction and who never even knows it existed.